Welcome again to my vision series. And we're going to be talking about what an Apostolic Resource Center is all about. And we're going to be discussing Nehemiah Apostolic Resource Center. Now, an Apostolic Resource Center, if you want to understand what it's all about, don't even compare an Apostolic Center and a church. So it's not a question of either or, it's a question of either and. And the difference is in functionality. The difference is in commission, and the difference is in the mandate. But the two must exist and have a symbiotic relationship. It's one God that we're, serving. So I've been asked several times by many people, what's an apostolic center? What's the difference between an apostolic center and a church? Well, when I was being sent to Nigeria from England to come and work with those that are preparing people made ready for the day of the Lord. The Lord saw that there were too many churches, so many churches that it didn't need another church. And so my commission to Nigeria was to develop an apostolic center. It was to be a prototype. And indeed, Nehemiah Apostolic Resource Center is a prototype. Now, coming to the difference between a church and an apostolic resource center, an apostolic center is primarily an equipping center. And that is not to say that a church isn't. But it is an equipping center in a different kind of, context. It is a specialist center. It is a center where certain subjects can be covered thoroughly, exhaustively. And the church does not have to bother about that. Because if you remember, a church has, different levels of maturity, different levels of need. And it's got to be pastoral. It's got to meet those needs. An apostolic center, however, is a place of more kind of maturity, people who have made a choice to converge in a place, to be trained, to be equipped for specific tasks, so that's a key difference. And an apostolic center is primarily overseen by an apostle, and the church is overseen by, a team, a government made up of a pastor, prophet, teacher, evangelist, and an apostle. But the governing structure of an apostolic center, an administration center, is totally different from that of a church. But as an equipping center, which is the number one, point that I want to bring to you, it is given to programs, structured seminars that address specific topics that equip the believer for the work of the ministry. Remember, it is not a question of either and. There is not a competition between church and an apostolic center. But apostolic centers existed in the book of Acts, and they were epicenters of transformation. That is the same, in our time, that apostolic centers must exist. They must become a place of developing communities of people that are connected by vision and by purpose, and that are attain a maturity that they can be sent on missions. So do remember, my friend, that there isn't a difference, in vision. The vision of every believer, the commission of every believer is to go into the nations and make disciples, go into the world and make disciples of the nations. That's the primary commission of everyone. But in developing those who would go, the apostolic centers have a different perspective, and they have a different ethos and a different approach to the preparation, to the equipping from the church. And that is to be so, and that is to remain so. So they are connected and they work symbiotically. So my friend, see you for the second point.